Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to a special series for Video Games to the Max. You know, we liked doing lists so much last time, and we're just going to go ahead and do lists for a bunch of other years in this decade because we're doing a best of the decade, 2010 through 2018, and then kind of just seeing if we do anything different with 2019 in lieu of eventually doing a top 100 of the decade for the website W2Mnet.com and everything. And of course, this is the official video game podcast of W2Mnet.com, Video Games to the Max. And I'm your host, Sean Garmer. Here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Yep, we're the only website doing a best games of the decade list.
Yeah, of course, we're not. There's already some published, and there's some that it's going to be published throughout January as well. So I've already listened to some websites, or podcasts that belong to those websites that said that they're doing them as well. So, and the reason why they're all doing them right now is because we know, and Mark and I are going to do a special, or not a special, we're doing a regular podcast that should be out at the same time as the first 3 years that we're going to do on this same evening, 2010 to 2012, talking about the crazy first, I guess it's like 6 months of the year that has so many games coming out between like March and May or June. So everybody's trying to get out this decade thing by like January and February so that they have time to all go play those games and everything else. So also here with us, the two guys that you hopefully heard on the 2019 Top 25 show, Jens.
Hello.
And Mr. Randy Isbelle as well.
Glad to be back.
So guys, we did this kind of in this, it's a little bit different than we did the top 25 for the 2019. We still did the top 10s, but what we're doing is we're taking the top 10s, we're done with a point system where 10 points, your number 1 is 10 points and your number 10 is 1 point, and it all gets kind of added up into a great spreadsheet that Randy made so that we could do this very easily. And we took the top 15 games for each year and put them all in one list, and we're basically debating that 15 or sometimes 16, 17 because there was ties for some of these years, and then pushing it down to a top 10 for that year. Now, for 2010 to 2016, the website didn't exist, so that's kind of us, I guess, going backwards and ranking a game of the year for that year, and also sort of having an idea of the games that we would include in the top 100 for those years whenever we get to that point. So that's the idea for now, and then eventually we are going to do 5 podcasts where we go through the 100 to 1 top 100, and those will be separate from this. So might as well go ahead and start with 2010. So here is our top 15 as it stands right now before we start any kind of deliberations. Number 15, well, technically it's tied for 14th, Deadly Premonition, the first one, and Dead Rising 2. Tied for 12th are Limbo and Yakuza 3. God of War 3 is 11th. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is 10th. Halo Reach 9th. Fallout New Vegas in 8th. Super Mario Galaxy 2 in 7th. Super Meat Boy in 6th. Bioshock 2 5th. Alan Wake 4th. Bayonetta 3rd. Mass Effect 2 and Red Dead Redemption, the first one, but technically I guess the second one in the story, is first. So And they're both tied for first, Mass Effect 2 and Red Dead Redemption. So that's our list right now. And just missing out, tied for 16th, are 4 games: Rock Band 3, Heavy Rain, Vanquish, and StarCraft 2. So, before...
The first StarCraft 2.
Yes, the first StarCraft 2. Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, the human one.
To be specific. So, yeah, before we get started, I mean, kind of going through that, is there anything from your, like, personal list that didn't make it that you, like, really feel strongly saying it should be in here, or you just want to give it a shout out maybe because nobody really paid attention to it, or you just want to say, hey, it came out in 2010 and I want to recognize it?
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed about Vanquish not being in the top 15, just because I think it's such a great combat system where you can kind of combo from your slide movements into your attacks and into, melee and it has such a great flow to it. Even though it's such a short game, it's like a 4 or 5 hour game and doesn't feel like a complete story, and I've been waiting for a sequel forever. What is there, and the boss design's really great. It's just an amazing feeling game. Very slick.
Some of the missions in that game, though, were, I would say, bad. Like that, the mission when you're on the train car, and you're like having to snipe targets, and if you fail to hit one, you're dead. It's like, yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah, there's a little frustration. There's also, some of the stuff later on with the those boss fights that morph into different forms and stuff.
Or like when you die, like your weapon upgrade gets like lost.
But Mark, you can smoke, and it looks cool as hell. And then you toss the cigarette to distract the enemies.
You can do that in Metal Gear Solid too.
That's true. But yeah, I just wanted to call it out as like the one that I'm most bummed about. I mean, I would have liked Heavy Rain to be on the in the 15 as well, but that I can understand more. Also, it's a very flawed game.
I would say the only one that's missing is probably like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Oh God!
Because that was the last good Need for Speed game, first of all.
Yes.
And it introduced that racing log or auto log thing that a lot of other games have used since then.
I know. I feel it was already on the decline at that point. It just felt like a lesser. Who's the developer that they pulled off Burnout? Yeah, exactly. It felt like Criterion limiting themselves, trying to work in the Need for Speed formula to me.
Or perhaps EA limiting them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I actually thought it was like, because I didn't like Burnout Paradise that much, so I actually thought it was a pretty decent return to form for them in that one game, and then the rest of them were shit. But that was like the only one I actually liked from them.
Burnout Paradise seems to be kind of like one of those. There's a lot of people that liked it, and there's a lot of people that didn't. It's sort of depends on your taste on that one, from what I've heard.
Plus, I actually did like that, like the cops versus robbers or cop versus racers. And, that was a good push and pull for that game.
Yeah.
That's when Need for Speed's always been at its best. Is when it involves the cops in in an interesting way. I mean, you could make a case that Heavy Rain is perhaps still the best David Cage game.
No. Nope.
Well, story-wise,
Mark
anyway.
Is a big Detroit fan.
Yeah.
I would say Detroit or Indigo Prophecy are probably better.
No, Indigo Prophecy falls apart really hard in the third act, but I also think Heavy Rain kind of falls apart once you get to the big twist.
What game of his doesn't fall apart in the third act?
They all
Detroit
have that problem.
Detroit carried, I think, the narrative load best, even though it was very cliche and very predictable at parts. At least it followed through in what it was setting up.
It carried it to a point until the main, it's not Marcus, but the bald robot or the caretaker robot is literally like dancing on the street, pointing his fingers at robots and turning them like to his side.
Okay, you don't like that he has that he gains that.
Or like that, like, I mean, I got the good ending for that game. It's like, oh, the robot uprising was upheld by the power of love. It's like, huh?
Well, okay, it's still better than who the killer turned out to be in Heavy Rain. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So no fight for StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty.
It was. I mean, it was good. I actually think StarCraft, that one's the best of the three, personally. But I think I'm the only RTS player here, so...
No, I played it.
I played it too.
Okay.
It was fine.
I mean, but what are we removing if we put StarCraft 2 in there? Because you can make a case that StarCraft 2 for what it does. I mean, even for what it did for esports at the time when there really wasn't, this big esports scene and, multiplayer, all that.
Well, of the big list, I would remove at least 3 games, so that's me.
Okay, so what are your 3 games that you're saying you would remove?
I would ditch Dead Rising 2,
yes.
Yakuza 3 personally, and possibly God of War 3. That's just because I think all the God of War games except for this current one are shit.
I mean, they're fun to play.
The original was great.
No, I mean, I had all those games. I think I'm still managed to have them. I just got bored about an hour through, and I'm just like, I don't like this. Like the combat.
I mean,
it's just like pop the guy in the air, jump up to him, and then keep hitting him until he explodes. So I already have Devil May Cry for that if I really wanted to play that.
I think the combat is pretty good, and of course the visual spectacle in God of War was pretty unmatched for PS3.
Well, I really hated Kratos as a character as well.
That's the thing. So yeah, that's my thing with God of War is I hate Kratos. He's a complete idiot, and God of War 3 pushes the story into new levels of stupidity. So and there are a couple of moments that are just. Man, I just never wanted to. I still haven't played the latest God of War because.
No,
that's
God of War but the latest God of War is fantastic. I mean,
yeah, that's the only good one.
They totally redeemed Kratos there.
Yeah, he has a character arc. He has an actual personality.
Well,
like
it's one of the few times a kid is actually helpful in a game.
For me, like the point when he shoves the lady in the gears to solve a puzzle. Was the point where I said, I'm done with this after this game. Like, no more God of War for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go back to any of those God of Wars after that new one that came out, because that's just totally different from those games. I think for the time that God of War was out there, I remember loving the first one. The second one was fine for what it was. After that, I thought the PSP games were okay for being on the PSP, and then the other God of War 3 and Ascension were, and by that point it was kind of far gone.
You didn't like multiplayer God of War?
No, I do not come to God of War for the multiplayer at all.
But from a technical standpoint, though, you can make an argument for God of War 3 being notable.
Yeah.
I mean, I always just value like gameplay over technical achievement, or at least a good story. So, I mean, let's face it, Deadly Premonition is a bad game to play, but it's a really out there game with like memorable characters,
charming as hell.
So,
yeah, definitely.
It being on this list is like, I mean, it wouldn't be on my personal list, but I'm okay with it being on this type of list because it's just a really interesting game. But God of War 3, I never found interesting. It's like, yep. This is the third one of those, and they did there's no noticeable improvement aside from maybe like visuals that I saw.
I'm assuming that it's number 11 here because Randy had it really high. Randy, do you want to say something about keeping God of War?
No, I've never played God of War 3. It was
okay. Then I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, we got to remember that. Well, I should have mentioned that we had one different voter from when we did the top 25. Stephanie was 12. In 2010, so she could not vote for most of these years. So Angel was the one that voted instead, and he tended to play a lot of the AAAs and not so much some of the other, I guess, indies or weirder games or whatever.
Most of us also play a lot of these other games. It's not.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Like, I think had she voted and been. Considering the kind of games she plays, it might have looked different had we had the same voting crew. But because we had a different voting crew, and also I think Daniel, who's not here to represent himself again because he works overnight job, I think he might have. I don't remember who exactly. I'm sitting here looking at these. I have the spreadsheet in front of me, The people that voted for God of
just trying to
War.
figure out who we're pissing off if we cut God
Yeah,
of War 3.
Angel.
It seems like we all
Angel
in
voted
agreement.
for it the highest out of the 3 that voted for it. Randy put it on here, and Daniel as well. So.
Okay.
And I only
Daniel
put
had
it on there
as-
because I only put it on when I was looking at the list. It was making it everywhere, so I just used it to fill out my list.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's
that's
funny.
fair.
I feel I've actually played every single game on this list and every missing out game. So that was a good year
I'm
for me,
going
too.
to make a case for Rock Band 3 because
Yes.
it's the best, outside of Beat Saber, it's the best music game that is there out of this entire decade for what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you're going to play it with friends, yes, it takes out the band mode from 2 and all that stuff, but when they added keyboards, they added so many different people that all of a sudden wanted to play this game that never played with me. Rock Band 2, I was somebody that Rock Band 2 was my game in college, and I was actually part of a gaming group that we took games to the assembly hall in college, and I'd take Rock Band 2 and then people playing or whatever. But I remember going back with Rock Band 3 and the keyboard, and all of a sudden the girls wanted to come and play. That never played before. They wanted to play now because they had the keyboard, even though it wasn't very easy to play. They still wanted to. It had the harmonies, which allowed you to have 2 different singers, which is cool because now you can have 3 people playing karaoke at once instead of 1. And the story mode and all that. I mean, the little challenge modes aren't as cool as the full band mode or whatever. But for having short stints of playing with someone, I think it was good for what it was. And not to mention, it has the best freaking soundtrack.
Yeah. And also, all those
that's
Freeze
out
Pop
there.
songs finally make sense with the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention the songs that they got to add later because of the keyboard.
My argument against Rock Band 3 would be Rock Band 2, I think, is still better.
Yes,
Because-
and Rock Band Beatles is probably still the best rock band. If that had been
yes.
this decade, I think.
Because,
Definitely.
the reason Rock Band 2 is the best one secretly is because there's a way to hack it so you can put in any song you want.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know, the music store stuff in 3 was pretty great, especially with the, the creator for independent songs and all that.
My
That was
bigger
pretty
problem
amazing.
with Rock Band as a whole is it never had a ton of music I liked in that game.
Oh, man, no, that
Like,
was
I
a
think,
big...
I think Rock Band, I went from 2 to 3, and it was like import in your library, and it was like it imported 15 songs, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, they had a
very
problem with the
similar experience.
licensing for a while until they fixed it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that. It was just like, yeah, I only bought 15 songs in Rock Band 2 because
Dude, I have like 3,000 songs.
Yep,
you
so do I.
Over onto the...
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous how much money I've spent on Rock Band stuff over the years, but I had the same experience that Sean, where basically just while I was in college, I was super into the music games.
It's
And
funny.
It was a big thing for me.
I mean, I think Jens might have seen it when he came over one time, but I have like a pristine Rock Band 2 drum set in my room, like still in the box. It's never been opened.
You
And it's
never
holding
impressed
up.
you, Brian.
Well, it's holding up my modded Xbox and my PS4 on top
The
of it.
original Rock Band 2?
Yeah,
Oh,
the 361. Like the
That's
drums
pretty
have
cool.
never been used.
yeah. I mean, I totally get you. Like, but...
You also have terrible, I mean, not terrible, but your taste in music does not comply with anything that would be in a normal music game for normal people.
Yeah, it's because all you people are bad.
Before we get to that, I think also we have to remember we're not only... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, as opposed to Guitar Hero, AC/DC, or whatever the fuck they
Oh,
Well, it was Rock Band. Guitar Hero did...
That was it.
I just played that because it was free with something. I forget what, but like I think GameStop just gave me that on like a little disc and like a slip
Guitar
cover.
Hero had Van Halen, which was terrible.
Yeah, that's the one I meant. Yeah.
So, to Mark's thing about cutting Dead Rising 2, I feel like Dead Rising 2 didn't really get good until off the record. Like, I feel like off the record with the co-op mode and just generally lessening the oppressive systems of Dead Rising.
Well, that's why the only good Dead Rising is Dead Rising 4, because it does away with all that bullshit.
Well, we got to remember that technically what we're trying to do is cut the 15 to 10. So we got to figure out if there's any of the 10 that you would remove to either put one of the other 5 or the other 4.
You could honestly cut like the bottom 15, and I might cut. I would probably cut maybe like Fallout New Vegas and put. I mean, if you really wanted, like Deadly Premonition as number 10.
I mean,
but
I would like that, but I feel like Fallout New Vegas just has so much cultural cachet. It's an important, even though at the time, I played on 360. It was a buggy mess and very slow, and several of the main quest lines were like straight up borked for me at some point, so I couldn't finish some of it. So I was very angry with it at the time, but it has since it's been patched, and people kind of love it for the writing, and it's been kind of a fan favorite for years now. So
the thing about New Vegas is it does have good companions and like a decent companion system. That's kind of about it. Like their whole like ammo inventory system sucked, or no one cared about it. Like playing it was okay, but like you said, it was pretty bad or like buggy. Even now, it's not like great. But, or the PC version is fine if you can mod it to hell, but it's like you go back to the old console versions. It's good luck.
I would.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not what we're looking at it from the perspective of you're not playing it on your PS3. You're not playing it on your 360. You're playing it on whatever you got right now, and that's not really an issue at this point. So
this is sacrilege because I know it's a good game. I've never played it, but I'd probably cut Galaxy 2.
Oh, Galaxy 2 basically takes everything from Galaxy 1 and makes it better.
Yeah, but I just never played those games, so that's why.
How about this? I would just cut 10 through 14 and make Deadly Premonition number 10.
I would say
you're not going to fight for Assassin's Creed at all. Mark, you're the Assassin's Creed person.
Yeah,
Brotherhood's good, but it's just a slight evolution of 2.
Yeah, 2 is
but
good.
It's a better evolution of 2.
I mean, I think Brotherhood had a better story for one. It really like having Rome as just a whole single environment as opposed to like those stupid fragmentary cities in the second game was a better idea, and a much like a actual bad guy. The combat was better. Like the horses weren't fucked up. The side stuff was good.
Yeah, and you could do the training the other assassins instead of on missions too, which was
that whole Brotherhood system was pretty neat. That of course they cast away with in EC3, I think.
What if we cut Reach? I mean, it's got that smooth jazz score I love, but other than that, it's
but it's a great story for a Halo game, though. You take Master Chief out, and it still tells a wonderful story, and it's got like probably the best shooting of the Bungie series because it's the last one they made. And
I would say Reach is like the best Halo game.
Oh wait, period. Reach. No, I was thinking of what's the.
You're thinking of ODST.
Yeah, ODST. Yeah. That's the good one.
You're thinking of the bad one.
Nope. Yeah, I don't care about Reach. Cut Reach.
Nope. Randy, do you have what would be your game that you cut?
I don't know what I'm cutting, but I want Limbo up over Deadly Premonition. Limbo's fantastic.
I mean, it is over Deadly Premonition, but they're all at the moment they would all be.
I understand, but instead of bumping Deadly Premonition up to one of those spots, I'd put Limbo.
Oh, I see. Right.
I would agree with you that Limbo is sort of the game that. I mean, obviously it's tied with Inside as far as like having a story continuation, but it's also just one of those first indie games that kind of took you by surprise, along with another game that we have on the list here. Of just it's hard, it's very hard. It's also like got a weird sense of atmosphere, and its like look is pretty unique for its time. Of like. You're also like watching a little kid get killed multiple times because you keep dying, so it's pretty like weird in that sense too,
Yeah, but you feel bad. You feel bad for that kid, so you don't want him to die. But
certainly not. But it's like almost like Dark Souls platformer. It
wasn't that hard.
I do feel the puzzles don't get a little bit worse in kind of the last act of that game when there's a lot of block pushing and stuff.
The gravity section wasn't the best, but
yeah, but I agree. Limbo's a beautiful game. How about Limbo number 9, Deadly Premonition number 10?
Okay, so why Deadly Premonition so loved? Yeah, explain this to me.
Because he has a Twin Peaks fascination.
Well, I love Twin Peaks too, but explain, like, for people who don't know what Deadly Premonition is, they saw this announcement of the second one coming, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?"
Okay, so Deadly Premonition is a weird detective game set in kind of a huge but also strangely empty open world, which is on like a real-time clock that barely matters. Has terrible combat.
That doesn't sound great. But...
It's just there's just so many amazing moments in that game. There's just so much. It's like everything about the world and the characters and the man. It's hard to justify. I just think it's one of the best things I've ever experienced in my life. Honestly, I mean, I just love it to death. I've played it. I played the director's cut on PS3. I played the director's cut again on PC. Played it on 360 originally. I've gone back to it a lot, and there's a lot of tedium in it too. But you somehow, like, all the jankiness and tedium and weird design decisions just kind of add to the what the fuckness of it. It just enhances.
I need to play
don't know.
It's you're not making your case to make it into the top 10, but you're making a case for me to have to play this.
No.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing.
I feel it's the pinnacle of the so bad it's good. Like, it's the first time really, it's so bad it's good. It's a thing that we all know and love in movies. We all have trashy or dumb or ridiculous movies that we love.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
But that doesn't usually translate to gaming because a bad game is just so painful to deal with. But Deadly Premonition somehow isn't. It somehow hits all the right spots for me.
You made a habit of playing games like that stupid biker game and other crap like that.
But I would never put Right to Hell Retribution on any list. So.
Well,
all right, I've not made a good case for that.
Now I want to go play Deadly Premonition. But I don't know.
So you guys like Reach? Would we cut Fallout New Vegas then?
You don't have a feeling for Fallout New Vegas at all, Randy?
I enjoyed it. I mean, for what it was. I agree with a lot of what has been said with the bugginess, and it wasn't the cleanest game, but it was better than 3.
Well, it's very just iterative. I mean, I prefer 3 still more, I would say, because I just like the bombed out DC as opposed to like the really empty Vegas, which made no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really have the scale of locations that you would expect from a Vegas setting. It feels very small at times when it shouldn't.
And also I thought the faction stuff in New Vegas was like really bad. Like the
no, that's what's good. That's what people like, man.
No, they like the companions. They don't give a fuck about Caesar Legion.
I don't know if that's true from the internet discourse I've seen about that game. But I mean, as I said, I didn't have a good time with it when it released, so I'm not going to cry any tears if we cut Fallout New Vegas.
I don't care, so I don't have an attachment to Fallout at all.
All right, let's cut it.
All right, so we're cutting Fallout New Vegas and putting in what?
Limbo.
Limbo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are we putting Limbo at number 8 then?
Actually,
I'm fine with it being under Halo and Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it in the 10. That's my only goal in this.
I think it's better than those two.
I would say that as well, and I would say that Limbo makes a bigger impact as far as what it does than the other two. Because, I mean...
Well, what impact? It made one other game, and that's been it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean...
That's very the same as Limbo. I mean, a different art
it was
style,
very influential in terms of the indie scene in general. There are a lot of Limbo likes now.
Yeah, and how many times has Limbo been released on every... I mean, I bought Google Play Pass for $1, and it's on there. I mean, like... that thing's literally on everything. It's one of those games that keeps getting ported for a reason because people will keep buying and keep playing it, and to me it stands out as when I think about indie games, it's one of those. It's up there,
Yeah,
Super Meat Boy as well. That's on this list,
Yeah. It's one of those games, like you said, with Super Meat Boy that was the big marquee thing for the Xbox.
Yeah, it's in a
360
Summer of Arcade game when Xbox Live Arcade was the one that was promoting indie games, So,
back when that actually mattered.
Yeah, back when that mattered, but that's sort of what set the rise of indie games was those two and a few others that came in the later years. So going further up the list, because we do have to break a tie, number one, and then second, do we have any kind of attachment to, like, we haven't talked about BioShock 2, Alan Wake, Bayonetta. I'm a huge Alan Wake person. I know that.
Same.
I would probably put Alan Wake below BioShock 2, and I wouldn't say that because the combat in Alan Wake is bad.
Disagree.
But you're not playing Alan Wake for the combat, though. The point of Alan Wake, it's a survival horror game more than a combat game.
It's not like the BioShock games are amazing shooters. I think as a survival horror game, I found Alan Wake to be actually one of the best playing. Like it was very very clean.
Because the DLC that comes afterwards the next year turns it into a combat game, but that's not what the original Alan Wake was for.
Well, yeah, but the original Alan Wake was supposed to be an open world game, and they shuttered that pretty quick. Like I thought, Alan Wake was it felt very fragmentary because it just felt like it was jumping in, abruptly jumping in spots, because it's there's supposed to be obviously a bigger scene here, or more of the town, but they just couldn't do it.
I know that never jumped out at me. I guess I remember that it was supposed to be open world at some point, but it felt pretty seamless to me.
There are some I would say there are some really great set pieces in Alan Wake, but
yeah, the story is great in Alan Wake. It's not, yeah.
The fucking combat against the in the trash bin, or not trash bin, but the trash dump against that dude. Oh man, this is bad. Also, as far as your tiebreaker issue goes, I can settle that right now. It's called Mass Effect 2.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with. Mass Effect 2 is.
I would say both games. The subsequent games, Mass Effect 3 and then Red Dead Redemption 2, are disappointments compared to the previous games, but I'd still say Mass Effect 2 is a better game.
Well, I think a lot of people would tell you that Red Dead 1's, a lot of its game doesn't hold up now, but I think, also I think we're missing the boat here that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is one of the best Super Mario games, period, to exist, and it's way down there.
It's good, but it's just, it was literally started as a level pack.
I know, but they added Yoshi, and they made traversal around that thing a lot easier. They made some of the levels, things they added to Galaxy 2 were fantastic. It's just...
Everyone knows that when you add Yoshi to a game, it becomes shit.
I love Super Mario World. I don't know what you're talking about. So
moving up, I think it is extremely strong. I agree with you. I would make an argument for swapping Bayonetta and Red Dead. I think Bayonetta has aged a lot better. It's still probably the best thing Platinum's ever made. One of the greatest combat systems ever. It took everything that was good about Devil May Cry and turned it to 11, and then just added a level of crazy and Man, the set pieces in that game are incredible. The bosses in that game are incredible. Every bit of design, every bit of the entire look of it, the music, everything about it is just absolutely top tier. Now, of course, Red Dead is also, it's a AAA Rockstar game. It's also super polished and really impressive for its time. But I just don't think it's anywhere as fun.
I would agree with it. Not as fun. Totally. Bayonetta is just action every 2 seconds, and It's one of the the game. You could point to it as one of the games that perhaps started the whole. We should get more female leads in video games. Like Bayonetta as a character is pretty awesome. Yes, she makes her clothes with her hair, but still, I mean, like when I play that game, it's like an awesome thing that you get to go, hey, she's kicking ass. She's got witching. Like you earn freaking bullet time in that game. I mean, how much more do you want? So. And you can't complain
about the dodge mechanics.
It.
The triggering witch time is still one of my favorite things in any third-person action game.
Yeah,
it feels so good.
And not only that I think it's just you can't really complain about the combat because you can clearly see what the enemies are doing. You just have to pay attention and you can counter it. And even if you play it on a hard difficulty or when it does get harder,
Yep.
So
yeah, you can learn it. You can learn it really well.
Anybody else have a problem with moving it up?
I'm fine. Like, I think I played it like a year or two after, so whatever.
Okay. So why? So I think a lot of people would say that BioShock 2, like that's the redheaded stepchild of the BioShock Trinity. Why BioShock 2?
I don't get it.
So great, Mark.
It has good combat, which the other two don't.
But BioShock shouldn't be about combat. It's atmosphere. It took a spooky atmosphere game that had a wonderful world and turned it into a basic shooter.
Then why do all the other Shock games have combat?
I mean, you had to have some combat, but
I think Infinite took.
Yeah,
Infinite takes a little bit of 1 and 2.
It has good combat and good atmosphere. So you got best of both worlds.
It is zero atmosphere.
So I don't really. I mean, it just kind of feels like a retread to me. I didn't think the narrative was nearly as strong. The only thing that to me justifies BioShock 2 being on this list at all is Minerva's Den, because Minerva's Den is a serious return to form and maybe the best bit of BioShock content.
No, I think everyone wanted to play, or you had that whole sequence in BioShock 1 where you become the ghetto. Big Daddy for a half minute.
Yeah, and they make you
Well, this game lets you just do it all the time.
Yeah, and it's not fun.
Well, the fact that you can have your drill or a gun and a plasmid is always nice. And something Skyrim basically ripped off later on.
I really don't understand why it's number I would put that at 10 if at all.
I mean, it's better. I would say it's better than Infinite for damn sure.
Yeah, I don't like Infinite, but that's a different conversation.
It's better than the first 20 minutes of BioShock 1 are amazing. And then I think it just kind of slowly goes downhill because the kind of stupid twist doesn't make a ton of sense. So I just think the story too is great. The DLC or just the main story. Well, also, two's a lot more tactical, which I really appreciated.
Randy, anything else on?
Yeah, I'm like the end. I'm not a big BioShock 2 person. I like Infinite more than most people do, but I wouldn't say it's great by any means. But I still think 2 is the weakest of the trio.
Well, if you want to put it lower, it's fine, but I would still have it on this list.
Yeah, I agree with it being on the list above the ones that are not. I think Super Mario Galaxy 2 needs to go above Red Dead as well. If you're going to talk about more fun, it's way more fun than Red Dead.
Calm down. No. Calm down.
I would no.
I mean, unless you're moving Meat Boy above him.
No.
I mean, you can't just base it on a level of fun. You always talk about
But what it does is a technical achievement on the freaking Wii. I mean, we're talking about on the Wii.
You can't honestly say if I had a picture of the first one and the second one, you couldn't say oh, this is dramatically better. It's they look the same, more or less.
So one argument would be that.
Except for if one had Yoshi in it, then it's okay, yeah, that's clearly the second one.
Red Dead does have more cultural significance, I feel, in Mario Galaxy 2. I mean, Galaxy 2 is... I know I wouldn't call it a forgotten game, but you don't really hear people talk about it as much, which is maybe an argument actually for putting it higher, to give it its due. But I still think putting it in front of Red Dead is a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I'd be fine with it being above Super Meat Boy. But of course, Super Meat Boy is also kind of a stone cold classic. So
I'm still waiting for the sequel. Damn it.
yeah,
it'll come out.
I like where everything is right now.
Well, aren't they making that Meat Boy Forever game?
Yes, they are. It's supposed to come out this year.
For 5 years.
Or next year.
Yeah.
Right. So with Bioshock 2 at number 10...
I still think Limbo could go above Reach and Brotherhood.
So Limbo at 7, and then...
The other two, yeah, down.
This looks good to me, the way it is now.
Yeah, I guess.
I see no issues.
All right, so... well, you want to talk about Super Meat Boy for a little bit, because we haven't even said anything about it. I mean, I don't know how much you...
I mean, great controls, good soundtrack, good extras and hidden stuff. I mean, like a picture, like a great modern 2D twist on a platformer.
But also the premiere of, not premiere, but popularized the This Is the Run kind of game that used to be just a staple of people making like super hard, like Flash games and stuff like that.
Started off as, so.
This thing of like a level that you can complete in like a minute, but you kind of butt your head up against it.
And the way it tells you where you died.
Oh yeah, I love that feature, especially on really hard levels, and you see like 900 little Meat Boys start, and by the end there's just one left standing. It's fantastic. To me, I'm more of a platformer person, and Super Meat Boy to me is my version of Dark Souls, where like people go, "Oh, it's too hard," which I say about Dark Souls, but I have no problem like learning the levels and getting it down because of like what Mark said. I mean, the controls are spot on. You never feel like you're cheated out of a death. You know it's you, and it's just your abilities. I think it's one of the best platformers of all time. It's so good.
Yeah, I also like the way. I mean, it's cute and it's silly, but I love the way it tells the story too.
Right.
Yeah. So I think this list is fine the way it is too. So. Here you go. We did the first year in 40 and probably about like 35 minutes. So that's good. That's good. So here we go. Mass Effect 2 is our, I guess, quote unquote game of the year for 2010. Bayonetta number 2, Red Dead Redemption number 3, Alan Wake 4, Super Meat Boy 5, Mario Galaxy 2, 6, Limbo 7, Halo Reach 8, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood 9, and Bioshock 10.
Should we send the creators of Mass Effect 2 an award, just so when they get it in the mail, they're like, why are we getting an award now?
They're too worried about how they're going to revive Anthem to worry about getting old awards in Mass Effect 2.
I don't think they're even going to try.
And we'd have to track them down wherever they're working now, because,
Well, Casey Hudson's still there.
So. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he's the one holdout.
Yeah, the one holdout, basically. So... Well, there you go. Some of these others we might talk about again, and we have some 2010 games that perhaps we'll talk about later on when we have our For Influential Reasons podcast. But that's it for 2010. Hopefully you'll listen to our continuing series of Through the Years, looking at the best of the decade. You heard our top 10 for 2010 for Randy, Mark, Jens, and myself. See you on the next one.